Welcome back to our Cognitive Function series. John Bodine here with Redemptive Psych, and here we're committed to exploring the pieces of personality as they are related to the expression of our Creator. Today we're talking about the second to last of the cognitive functions, that of introverted sensing. Now, we talked about extroverted sensing being related to the experience around me and the externalized awareness of the five needs as the five senses as it relates to other people. Introverted sensing is the inverse. It is the experience, the literal experience, the physical, the sensory experience within me, within oneself. It is an internalized relationship to the five senses. All of the introverted sensors are quite aware of the taste, the touch, the texture, the temperature, how comfortable or uncomfortable they are. All those things as it relates to their own internal awareness. They are constantly aware of that. Now, the element attached to introverted sensing is earth, that of the reliable, the durable, the long-lasting, and the stubborn. But earth's main attribute as it relates to human relationships is one of stability and consistency, and that is what introverted sensing as a function brings out the most. Now, related to the earth and introverted sensing's nature, the basic need of an introverted sensor, or of introverted sensing in isolation, is to be molded with care. No one is more sensitive to the past experiences that one experiences as it relates to their perspective of the world and how each of those experiences shaped who that person becomes. What is being planted throughout someone's early life, throughout someone's childhood? What is their childhood environment like? What messages, what forces were put upon them? So what has been planted in your life? And second, how have you been shaped? It's a combination of what seeds were planted and what shape you were forced to take over time to deal with your life, and to hopefully you were shaped in a way that sets you up for success in life. But many introverted sensors find that they were shaped in a way that was so constricting and so specific for survival that they spend a long time trying to regain a more healthy and more robust shape that is more appropriate for a fulfilled life. And second, what is their basic fear? Now, as Earth is durable, introverted sensors want to be reliable and strong for others. And thus, the biggest fear of the Earth is to break, is to no longer be capable of holding things up anymore, and to not be the rock that supports others, to be put under so much pressure and not to renew their strength. That will lead to breakage, and that is what they fear the most as the element. Now, which types use introverted sensing? Again, these are arranged in the order of which types use it the most to these bottom few that still use it, but not quite as much as the top ones. So the SI heroes, the introverted sensing heroes, are the ISFJ and the ISTJ. They are very constant, very powerful with their endurance. They kind of have the appearance of being non-threatening a lot. They're kind of passive because they just kind of take on life. The SI parents, introverted sensing parents, the ESFJ and the ESTJ, they are still very focused on strength and durability, but they're a little bit more careful about where they give their loyalty to, where they give their attention to. But for all intents and purposes, about the same level of strength and durability as the ISJs. Next are the SI childs. The INPs, the INTP and the INFP, often have the appearance of looking weak and frail, but they're the ones that may endure all kinds of bullying and verbal abuse from others, and all kinds of strange life experiences, and a lot of rough ones. And guess what? They are the ones still left standing. Those skinny, scrawny, nerdy kids who look like they can't carry a bucket of water. Those are often the ones with their innocent, renewing, introvert sensing child who just last, who get through things. And unbeknownst to everyone else, they have a deeper strength than any one of us can possibly imagine. And lastly, the SI inferiors. The ENTP and the ENFP are very afraid and very uncomfortable of incoming stimulation. They naturally live life in a state of discomfort. They are very, very sensitive to the temperature being just a little off, then being just a little bit uncomfortable, the texture of a shirt just not being quite right. They're in a constant battle with their own state of not being able to deal with life, to deal with stimulation. But even though they are very sensitive to that, and they're often also looked at as being weak, they are often also the ones left standing. But it only comes at the cost of them choosing to face what others perceive as weakness and to slowly gain strength and the ability to just kind of shrug it off. And that builds their strength. Next, SI traits and strengths. So we talked about this a little bit with the Earth. Now we're going to get more specific. Reliability. The most reliable people of the 16 types in general are these top 4 types. The SJ, Guardian, Temperament. Those are these 4 types, all the SJs. These are the people who show up for work every day, who steer into their responsibilities and are rarely avoiding them. Compared to many of the other types who struggle with embracing responsibility, these 4 types often are way more natural at taking on responsibility as a normal part of life. They expect things to be tough. They expect things to be rough. They expect their strength to be tested. But they are naturally equipped and have the perspective that, you know what, I need to show up. I need to be strong. I need to pay my dues and be reliable for my work, my family, whoever. That is part of who I am. Dutiful, very much related to reliable. They kind of don't know what they want, especially the SJs. They are much more directed by being told what to do, being asked what to do. Now, you may know some, like a stubborn ESTJ or more willful INTP who may be an exception to being told what to do. But in general, introverted sensing, just like the Earth, just like the field, it wants to be shaped, it wants to be guided, but particularly as it relates to duty and to tasks at hand. And this is never more evident than with the SJs, who really just like being told what to do. And as long as they're not cheated out of natural rewards that they should get for their work, they usually don't mind being told what to do. Next is sacrificial. Introverted sensing users live in a perpetual state of sacrifice. They are willing to give up so much for the people around them, for the places that they work for whoever. They are in a perpetual place of just giving up things they might prefer to do because they're embracing their duty. Next is autobiographical. The image I like to think of with introverted sensing is a memory foam pillow, and this pillow represents someone's life. And throughout those early experiences of childhood and then teenage and then adulthood and so on and so forth, there were experiences implanted into them, like a memory foam pillow that is permanent, like a handprint in stone. And being aware of that, they are aware of their personal history in often profound detail. So a way that they often share themselves with others is sharing what happened to them, their life story. And part of their growth and their healing is linked to their ability to articulate their life story in some compelling detail. So they're very autobiographical. Next, they can change and they can transform, but they do it slowly but deeply. Think of shaping a rock formation. It's not going to be something that you can just go and move around like Play-Doh. It's like you have to hammer away at that. There has to be a lot of heat, a lot of pressure over time, maybe even an earthquake or an eruption, but eventually it'll change, it'll transform. So their character traits, how they see the world, really anything about them can change, but it takes a while. But once that change is in place, especially habit formation, probably takes a little bit longer for these types than the other 8. Even though it may take a little longer, once they have it for a lot longer. It reaches roots deep into them that are much more closer to being permanent than the other types. And lastly, loyal. This is kind of a given with these other traits, but their primary currency basically in relationships is loyalty. They are long-suffering for other people. Not only do they sacrifice and they're reliable and they're dutiful, they are committed to people that they give their loyalty to. So these are their traits and strengths. Next is their struggles. On the topic of loyalty, they are often loyal to a fault. The ones who stay in abusive relationships, who are the last to leave. These are often SI users who have invested their loyalty so much and invested in their identity being someone who's always going to be holding things up. They can stay in terrible situations because they feel like it's their responsibility. Next, related, the forfeit of agency. Because the earth and the rock is not always aware that it has a choice to move or to be something else or to transform in some way. SI users struggle with giving up their choice, not even considering that they may have a choice. They actually have the freedom to get out of a situation a lot of the time. But because they don't believe they have a choice necessarily, or because it's so far-fetched for them, they think it's not even possible. Forfeiting agency is a big source of so many issues in their life. And we'll get to another issue in just a second. Next, stuck in old ways and resist change. This is kind of related to how they change. When they change, it's really slow but deep. Most of the time, they're very resistant to change. They like what's familiar. They resist new experiences, particularly the SJs. The NPs are a little more open to it, but the SJs especially, they like what's solid and what's real and what they know. And they can really struggle with being adaptable or trying new things. Now, I will say briefly, if an SI user is comfortable, if their internal state is pleasant, they are much more open to trying new things, new restaurants, a new event under that circumstance. But as a day-to-day experience, they don't view the world in terms of like, oh, let's change this and this and this. They're much more of a steady state kind of person. Next, bitterness. Now this is related to the loyalty to a fault, forfeit of agency, but also a lot of SI users are victims to the abuse of other people. The past, their autobiographical memory is always there. It's just as soon as they tune into their body or their mind, their past is right there. They kind of live in the past. They orient themselves in the present and towards the future based on the past, especially the SJs, right? So the temptation to be extremely bitter about the people who wronged you, the unfairness that was done to you, the times where you were the rock that held the relationship or the institution or whoever else up, but you were the one that it crumbled under because no one else would help you. And maybe they pulled out the support from under you at the last minute. All these experiences are often experiences that SI users have. They are often punished for being sacrificial. They are often punished for being loyal and forfeiting their agency. Now, by often, I don't mean every day, but over the course of someone's life, that will happen. And their temptation for bitterness is a real thing as a result of that. So those are their struggles. Lastly, SI growth. In light of their traits and their struggles, how can introverted sensors grow? Number one, trust. They can kind of struggle with trust, with trusting other people, with giving other people space and freedom, because that means the unknown. And if they don't know what someone's fully about, they struggle to really give that person space. So learning to trust in small ways is vital for seeing the potential in other people realized, but also seeing that a lot of people have their intentions are a lot better than you may think. Next, embrace agency. Now, this is more related to things that you want or are interested in as an SI user. What interests you? What goals might you have? And they often don't really know what they want because they're so about duty and what I should do. But one way to think about it is to look into your past. And if you look closely enough, you will see patterns of events that were interesting and engaging to you. What were those things that were so interesting to you? And using the collection of past experiences, and if you can extrapolate some things that were really fulfilling for you or really interesting, that can orient you to use and practice your agency. Even though you don't always feel like you have freedom or have a future, you do. And targeting the past is one way to unlock one or two things that you might want to move towards. Next is the false burden bearing thing. Only God can carry all things, not you. And SI users, their source of pride is often about how much they can bench in a metaphorical sense. How much can I carry? How much responsibility can I hold? And this can, over time, embitter them, because eventually they start to realize, maybe I didn't need to hold the whole world for so long, and look, like I can barely move anymore, hypothetically. So their relationship with how much responsibility they carry can be navigated with more care. You don't have to just carry things because you can. There's certain things you should carry, and there's certain things that are your choice to carry, but many of the things and the obligations that you think you have are things that maybe you shouldn't have, or maybe you shouldn't be holding on to. So having that conversation about, what are some things that I'm loyal to or holding on to that I don't have to, that can lighten your load. And guess what? Life's a lot more fun when it's a little bit lighter. And lastly, related to that, SI users, especially these high ones, are they live life from a perspective of responsibility. I got to be responsible. I got to do my duty. And they can neglect play. All work and no play makes anyone a dull person, and frankly, a bitter person. So embrace not only duty, but having great experiences, having enjoyable things. And that's beyond going out for drinks and having food out. That's great too. Keep doing that. But also some things that maybe you had wanted to get to in past years. Maybe you wanted to try a new hobby. Maybe you wanted to read something or take a trip. Working towards those things. You don't have to start right now, but making plans and working towards those things are a great investment. Life is not just about responsibility. And that's one of the things that other types have struggles with you about, is that your perspective, especially the SJ's perspective on life, can be way too pessimistic and kind of boring, like it's all responsibility. Thankfully, life is much more than that. And learning to embrace play as a daily activity and a daily need is going to infuse you with much more strength than you could get with just responsibility alone. So the healthiest SI users I've ever met were not the ones who had to rely on food addictions and drugs and alcohol to get through the day. They were ones that allowed themselves to have a little bit of agency and allowed themselves to play a little bit. And that regenerated their soil, that regenerated the rock, and that made them stronger over time. You guys are built to last, and the only thing you have to do is start to mold yourself and expose yourself to positive molding forces. And I promise you, your strength will be renewed. All right, guys, that's Introverted Sensing, the second to last of the cognitive functions. Thanks for stopping by. We'll return for the final of the cognitive functions, Introverted Intuition, in the last video here. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you later. Bye.